Thanks for joining us on DesignWorks TV. This video is designed for you new users of DesignWorks Pro Mesh with Autodesk Inventor. So you'll notice the first thing you're going to see is a new tab's been added to the ribbon. This ribbon, if you're in laser mode, may say DesignWorks Scan, or if you're in Pro Mesh, it'll say DesignWorks Pro Mesh. This tab allows you to load and save meshes, edit meshes, clear meshes, and the big tool is the mesh features once it's loaded. There's a great tool called Mesh Section. The scan one will not be inside the Pro Mesh one. This is for the one with the laser. And you have tools for validation and some modification. So we're going to get started on a brand new mesh. It's got all kinds of fillets and chamfers, things that other companies don't want to show you because they have to go back and edit in the tree. DesignWorks 2022 and forward, we have a new extrude tool that takes care of all that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to load a mesh. Now most meshes are in millimeters, but if it's not, there's a tool under the DesignWorks options. You can change it to prompt you. So in this case, we're going to go to our sample scan data. We've got tons of files. And this is our brand new one for 2022. And it's your training file. So you'll be seeing this file sent to you if you're a new user. And we're going to load this up. So the first thing you're going to notice is this part has fillets, chamfers, all kinds of things on this part that normally makes the person's life miserable trying to create this with other products. They'll tell you to go back and just edit everything in the tree, add a plane. Well, our guys in our service bureau didn't like that, and neither did our customers, so we've added some new great tools. So to get started, we're not going to talk about moving the origin or anything yet. We're just going to work on building a feature from this. So to build this, you're going to do it the same way you would do it if you're using Inventor sketch tools. You pick a plane, define a profile, extrude it, and so forth and so forth. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go into Mesh Features. If this is the first time you've used your system, you may need to resize this. It may look something like this. So go ahead and resize this to cover your screen. You do not want to be utilizing Inventor underneath and DesignWorks at the same time. So you're going to notice you can move this with the 3D mouse or your mouse. So the middle button lets you rotate, left and right buttons on the mouse let you select. We highly suggest the 3D connection space mouse lets you turn it and rotate it. On the left side, you'll have a menu that you can put this wherever you want. We just like it in the left, but you can put it anywhere you want. You're going to notice at the beginning some tools. They look and feel like Inventor. Plane, mid-plane, lofts. These are the kind of items you're going to create. There is a tree structure that once you start working, you'll see a tree structure here. Most of the times under general options, you can leave this alone other than in here, your features. You may be changing from a solid to a surface to a cut. Most of the time, you'll probably want lines and arcs, but you can change that. This is the painting style we're going to talk about. There's different ways to paint on the mesh. There's normal, curvature, 3D brush, and boundary. There's also hotkeys. Click outside this box, and you'll notice they're going to change. So I hit B for brush, C for curvature. And if you want to see all the hotkeys, you can press F1. And F1 turns it off. So to get started, we want to constrain this. You'll see a lot of products out there just paint on the meshes and build it. Nothing's constrained, horizontal, vertical. Then you get in a tree and you have all of these nightmares. So let's first go back to the normal painting. This slider controls how much it's going to paint. Normally you want to keep it somewhere in the middle. So we want to define a plane on the bottom of this. So I'm going to move the mouse over here, left click on it. And because the slider is about in the middle, it selected all of it. Notice it got right about to the horizon line. You don't want to paint over into that chamfer. It can confuse it. We're going to create a plane there. Now there's another option for a plane to make a surface. We don't want that. So we're going to simply say make a plane. So you notice in a tree, you're going to see as you build, it's going to add things. And this little pop-up tells you what affects it. So now we have that plane. Like you were in Inventor, we have to define this profile. So we're going to leave it on normal, kind of like left click. And if you want to drag it, hold on left click and drag like this. Now for the extrude, it does need to be continuous, but it doesn't have to be painted the whole height. By painting this the whole height, this tells the extrude how high to go, but that can also be modified in our new extrude tool. But let's pretend there was a casting and there was some irregularities in here. You could go to B for brush and use either the round or hit the plus sign and make it bigger. Negative makes it smaller. Or the Q key makes it into like a cube. Now, you can paint on the front, back, and both. Normally, I would say if you're learning, leave it on front. But let's say it had a bunch of impurities in this. You want to go around it. Say it was real jagged there. You can switch your painting style. And then when you got over here, you'd say, hey, this is all good. You could go back to N for normal, or pick it here. And you could go like this. So those painting options are very handy because not every part you get is perfect. So now that we have our sketch profile painted, we're going to select this constraint. We want this extrude to be perpendicular to the painted sides. So we're going to review, it's a solid. We've constrained it. Now currently, because it's painted to here, this is how high it will go. But what if you want to need to go a little bit higher when that loft kicks in? You could actually go back to like the brush. That's one of the easiest ways. B for brush. You might want to make it a little smaller. You could select, I want to go all the way to here. Okay? This is something no other product in the world does. They make you edit it once you go back to the Inventor tree. And they make you make planes and edit up the surface and all this other stuff. So now we can tell it. We have a plane constrained. We picked our top, and we want a solid. We're going to simply hit extrude. So it's going to process the data, and a new window is going to open up. This is brand new for 2022, the in-process extrude window. This can be moved around wherever you want it. Now currently when it's up, you can't rotate the part. You can make it smaller or bigger. So currently it's saying, here's all your gap settings, lines and arcs. It allows you to in process change this. Now look at this model. We assumed, again we assumed, it was straight. During the integration it says it's got a draft. We don't want a draft. Here's where all the other products make you go back to the tree and edit it. The red tells you the bottom. This tells you the top. And we can go ahead and say recompute. It's going to recompute because we told it we want a different draft. If you didn't want a different draft or anything, then you could just say accept. But I changed the draft, it's now 0 and the sketch is closed. So this is a really great tool. It shows you 4 views and you can change the start point, end point, whatever. And we'll say accept. So notice it shows you a preview. If you want, you turn on the accuracy analyzer. It'll check where we painted it. So this is holding really, really good. If we let that draft on there, it would have showed red. Now that the extrude analyzer is off, you can check the whole part. And I recommend turning this on and off. Now we'll hit the green checkbox. It'll write this back to Inventor. And you'll notice in the tree, you have the extrude and the sketch. So again, the reason for that new extrude window, all the other players out there make you pick a plane, up the surface, edit it. We're like, we don't want to do that. So let's say edit sketch. Nothing's constrained. So you can come in here and actually change your model. We could do a DezignWorks scan, show hide the mesh. Here's all your data. Look how nice the lines and arcs are. With DezignWorks 2022, we spent a lot of time improving this. all the other players out there make you go sketch on top of it. It's painful. So you can go up to 3D model and you can just go ahead up here now and or back to the sketch and dimension all this. Your lines or arcs, whatever, or if you like it, just hit the check mark. You can adjust anything in the tree, the height, sketch, whatever you want. Let's go back and start cutting away this. Let's go back into Mesh Features. And let's go ahead and do this wavy top. Let's leave it on, it's actually on brush. This is what would happen if it was on brush. It'd go like this. So you can make it bigger. Do you really want to do that? It would take a lot of time to do this, and you'd probably bleed over the edges, which you don't want to do. The normal tool is really nice. You can hit normal or N. So watch what this does. It's adjusted here. It's about in the middle. It allows you to click and hold. So I'm holding on the left mouse button. It knows where like the horizon and edges. So things you don't want to do is paint over the edge. Like here, you won't want to paint into that fillet. If you did, you can come back and erase it off with one of the other tools. But by using normal tool, it normally paints really nice. So here you can do some adjustment. If you want to make a plane here, and one of the cross sections running from right to left, you could do that. Or make a plane here, they go from top to bottom, whatever you want to do. So what controls this mainly is the loft. So you can put as many cross sections as you want. By default, it's set on 15. So let's just go ahead and say I want to do a loft. But here's another issue. If we didn't extend this, we'd have to extend it in Inventor. So in DezignWorks under loft, we can extend this. Now it's doing the volume. So you don't have to put this up to 100%. You probably put it 25, 30, 40. It's looking at the volume of the part and saying, how far do you want to extend this loft? Also new in 2022, you can offset that if you wanted to. So I'm going to take it up here, I don't know, 40%. And I'm going to leave that alone at 15 cross sections and say loft. DezignWorks is very fast and efficient. It utilizes the GPU more than any other product on the market. So again, if you need more cross sections, you can reload that mesh. We'll get into that a little bit later in some other training sessions. But since this is your first session, the key is not to overload you. So 15 sections should build this pretty accurate. And we'll check with the accuracy analyzer. If you need less, use less. Some cases you might need 20, 25. Sometimes you have to run it and then just check it and see what you need. But most of our settings over here under general have been really beaten on and adapted to. So we didn't want you to have to come over here and constantly change these all the time. Nobody wants to work on flipping settings all over. So this is about done. And all the cross sections are editable. No other product on the market lets you edit the lofts. They all show like imported lines and you're stuck. We've really made this adapt to Autodesk Inventor so that you can edit almost any entity out there. So there it's done with the green checkbox. There's your loft. Now there's many ways to trim this off. One of the easiest ways is to use the extrude tool. So if you hit this and set edit feature, you want to realign this. So in this case, you're like, what's wrong? Because it's parent-child. This is before all the loss. So if you do that, just hit cancel. You can actually move this down to here. Or do the loft first, however you want. Again, this all constrains to the parent-child relationships. Edit the feature. Now with Inventor, you do have to pull this down below it. I don't know why, but you do. Then you can say 2. and then pick this surface, it'll go up to it. If it's above it, it doesn't want to go down to it. Say OK. Then you can go ahead and actually hide this. So it would actually be up here in the surface body. You could hide it. You should occasionally save your part. File save. Let's go back and build some more features. So again, don't forget about your thinking cap, the way you work in Inventor. You build everything the same way. Now, if you don't want to see all these references, you can turn them off. Let's go ahead and let's cut this away from here. This is where the big problem comes for all of our competitors. They have trouble because it's fillet, and they have to pick a feature, and this is the fillet, and you got to edit the tree. That's why we have this new extrude tool. So let's build a plane here. Again, we're on normal still. Build that plane. We want to constrain this. So let's paint on here. But notice, it's painting here. It doesn't know how to get through the fillet. Oh, but it does. So when you get ready to build this, you can pick this plane. You'll see in the extrude window, it knows to start down here. So again, we save you all that time of saying, oh, it's short. Go build another plane in the tree outside in Autodesk and do up to surface. We do it all for you here. So let's use the surface tool here, because we're actually going to delete this and just cut it off with Inventor. We're going to say surface extrude. It's not a closed profile, it's open. So here, what's really nice, this will actually start down there, but notice when we painted this, it might not be tall enough. So on the blue side, you could say through all and accept. It's going to make it taller. And then we'll go chop this off. So what it's saying is it's an open profile. Let's go take a look at it. We only need the surface of this. So in here, let's go to wireframe once. And we'll go to visual style. Let's go to wireframe. So in there's the sketch we need. Sometimes they'll do that in Inventor because it's not a closed profile. So let's go in here once. Let's go to the sketch. So you'll see here's the plane, here's the sketch. Let's edit this sketch. We're going to make this closed and cut it off. So go grab your normal tools and we'll trim it and close it. Right click, we'll go to trim, and we'll say extend this. So we'll extend this out to here. Now we're going to turn our solid back on, our visual style. We'll do with the shaded with edges. Let's go ahead and cut that off. So we'll go up to the 3D model. We'll do an extrude. Turn it so you can see a little bit. And you can drag this up or say through all. And we'll just say we want to do a cut. Let's save our part. Now let's go put some more features on this. Let's go back into the Pro Mesh and go into Mesh Features. So maybe you want to do this little boss up here. To ensure it's perpendicular, you could use the plane from the bottom, or you can use it as a reference. So if you come and turn these on, the very first one we built was up in here. Okay. If you turn around, you see it's purple. So let's say you want the top plane you built normal to this. So you can leave that highlighted. We could use normal, paint the top of this. When we say highlighted now, we can say let's build a plane that's going to be parallel to that bottom one. If we build it separate, they may not be parallel. We can turn our features off. Now we can come in here, and if we don't want the references anymore, we can use our normal painting. We'll zoom in. when you do the extrude, it does need to be continuous. But notice how nice it paints this. It painted it right down to the fillet area. That fillet actually makes a big issue for all the other players out there. They can paint and make a feature, but guess what? It's short by that amount. They have to go in and edit the tree and Inventor and up to surface and all that crazy stuff. So now if we go to the bottom of our tree, we can say that's our plane. That's our painted part, and we're going to do a solid. This is a tool here you'll turn on and you'll change the most. The rest of these you won't change much, and we'll say extrude. But again, it's short. Okay, so what we can do is this. We can actually change it over here and make it actually longer. So notice the 4 views is telling you the red one starts up here. The blue one's not quite touching there. So what you could do is you could paint it or add something to it. So if you want to go down inside of this, you could do that. So you'll see the blue. What if you want to go down into this part more? You could say near the mesh start, near the end. This case, I want to enter it manually. So it's 1.065. We can actually put a value in there. Or we could have, when we built it, we could have painted this. So if we said, hey, we want to paint it, you could say cancel or recompute, but we could accept it. Okay. And we'll see our feature here. We'll turn it back on. We can also edit it. So let's show you just show you where the extrude's so nice. Let's build it. What you're going to notice is that it's short a little bit by the fillet. That's what all the other players do. They're like, oh, just go edit and drag it. What if you had 50 of these? Just to show you, I didn't make it longer. But what if you had 50 features? Do you want to edit feature here and drag all this stuff down all the time into it? We didn't. So that's why we made it so you could do it in the other window. That was just show you an example that would be short if you didn't do that. Now we're going to build the features on this lower section. So we're going to turn the mesh back on, show hide mesh. We're going to go back into the mesh features. So we got these 2 features we want to build. This is a simple cylinder extrude, which works similar to the extrude up here. So let's go talk about this. The revolve tool does not have the new feature to extend it like the extrude. It's something we're still working on. So we're going to do revolve, and then you would edit the feature in the tree afterwards. So let's go ahead and make a containment. So if we want to turn these back on, we could show them. So in this case, we want to make a plane. We could use this plane or make a plane on top. This depends. So let's say you want to make a plane on top that's constrained to this first original one. I believe it was this one. If you select this, these will highlight different colors. So yeah, there's the one we first started with. So if we want to make this plane here, we could switch this to normal painting. Since this is highlighted, we can go ahead and make sure it's parallel to this one. We could say create a plane. Just make sure somebody else hasn't used your system and make a surface plane isn't checked. So we're going to say make a plane. So now we have a plane that's parallel to the bottom. What we want to do is paint this to do the revolve. So we could turn those references off and features off for a minute. Come in here with either the normal painting. You just want to watch. You do not want to paint the fillet, or you'll try to get the fillet in there. So you could switch it by selecting curvature or C on for the hotkey, and it'll kind of paint this. So if you're going to use revolve tool, make sure you do paint inside here some. You do not have to paint it contiguously, but just enough it knows to go across it. Because what it's doing, it's mimicking a revolve. So that actually looks pretty good. We'll spin it around here. Looks decent. So we want to use our constraint. We want the revolve axis to be around this plane. And then we'll say we want a solid revolve. Again, this tool doesn't have the auto extend pop-up. We can turn the features back on and check it. Something we're looking at. And we'll write this out to Inventor. So you'll notice this is the case we showed you about before with the extrude up here. We'll do a hide show. Your feature's short because you can't identify it. But you can go in here to the revolve until we come up with a way to do this a little bit different. We can edit the sketch. In this case, I would just go ahead and make one of these vertical lines fixed. So you can come up here and say fixed. Make sure to turn this off. And then you could pull this down. Okay, that was turned off. And then you could pull this down. So you can cancel constraint. Here's two ways to do this. Finish the sketch and come back in, or cancel it in the sketch. These do not stay modal, but you want it off. So we pull that down. Or you can cancel this. Or you can say, if you make a mistake, right click, you can say remove fixed constraint. Now you should be able to pull this down. Just make sure this isn't selected. You may have to trim this as well. We're in the sketch. So you may have to trim it or extend it. Then you exit the sketch. Your revolve should be correct. But notice when we did the extrude, we did all that for you. We just haven't found a way to do this yet. So let's turn on some features. Here you could do this two different ways. I would do the cylinder, which does allow the extrude tool to let you pick it down to here. So again, we can constrain it by one of these if we want. Or let's say you didn't want to constrain it. Go into Mesh Features for whatever reason. We're just trying to show you all different ways in this getting started. Again, I would just paint on it. Now when you paint on it, there's curvature. There we painted on the top. So you hit the space bar, or you could go back to normal. So if we're doing the cylinder, you don't have to paint it all the way around or continuous. It uses the painted height to get the feature size. But the cylinder does use the extract command. So we can tell it to go down to this plane. So let's say solid cylinder. So notice, this does use the constraint. And it's shown it's short. So this is where you could give it a value or give it a constraint. So let's just show you. Let's say you forgot to pick the plane. You can go in here and where it shows where it's starting and ending, you could change it right here. So if you see the red says the starting point is up the top, and this says 0.496. You could do this on the blue and change it. Enter value manually, whatever you want to put it. Let's say you wanted it like 0.396. Hit recompute whenever you change it. And add your value. Then you can set it back to Inventor. and say show hide mesh. Now again, I went the wrong way, but if you wanted to, with Inventor, you could edit the feature. This is what we don't want you to do, but just showing if you do make a mistake, you can edit to extrude, edit feature, and you can pull it down. You can say other direction over here, or both ways, really however you want to do it. In the event you say you forgot. You can pull that down. Say okay. So again, there's many ways to do this, but the new extrude tool saves you time doing all that. We should have made a constraint plane there, but just want to show you how different things work. Then we'll go in here back to mesh features again. If you want to do this for a cylinder, you could use your C tool for curvature, paint this, and say I want a solid sphere. So these are your creation tools over here. And then we'll do this little cutout. Go back in mesh features. Here's where I would make a plane. So we'll change it. We're on curvature. Let's go back to N for normal. Make a plane. Then we'll use our normal painting. We'll drag it along here. For the extrude, this does need to be continuous. Okay, don't leave a gap here. Now, if you started painting it like this, that's the height. And if you want to go back and maybe use the brush, whether it's a curvature, it's the round or the cube or the square, you can do this. But it does have to be continuous. So only one section needs to show the height. But just make sure it's continuous. We showed you an example before that maybe they had a bad spot in it. You could actually come down here and go down around it, go back up, as long as it's continuous. So to build the feature, we'll tell it to constrain it. That's the constraint plane. It's the last one we built. Here you could do any of these because we have to edit it. This is an open profile, so you probably wouldn't say solid. You'd say surface or cut, but we're going to still have to edit this to make a closed boundary. We haven't figured out a way to auto close this yet. So you could simply say surface or cut. Either one works. Surface, extrude. And it's going to give us that profile. Then we'll edit in the sketch in the Inventor tree and close it. Green checkbox. So we'll go in here and we'll turn on our view. We'll go to wireframe. And we'll go ahead and just turn the DezignWorks scan. We'll turn the show hide mesh off. And there's our sketch. So we'll go down here and we'll edit our sketch. You actually can delete the extrude. Just make sure if you delete it, you don't delete the consumed sketches, because that's what we want. So now we can come over here and we'll make this longer. You can, since you're in a sketch, you can use all the sketch tools. And extend that. So again, we'll go into the sketch. I wasn't in it. Okay, let's jump into that sketch. Now we're in the sketch. You can use all the line tools. Just draw something over here. And you can use the extend tool to extend it and trim it off. Now we're going to simply use the Inventor tool to cut this out. So we'll rotate this around. And because we have on the wireframe, you have to do a little extra step. We'll say extrude. It knows the profile, but it doesn't seem to know the solid. So they select solid if you're going to do a cut. Select solid, and then you can cut it. But if you don't pick select solid, it won't cut it out. Say, okay. So there you've got most of your model done. We're going to see a new feature in DezignWorks 2022. We need to put these fillets in here, but we don't know what they are. So let's go turn on the visual style. There's your model. And let's go into DezignWorks. If you're using Pro Mesh, that will say Pro Mesh. And we'll say Show Hide Mesh. So normally you're going to do feature to mesh to actually inspect it. We're going to do a feature to mesh and not select anything or say visualize errors. This is going to let us mouse over and find out what these fillets and things are. Brand new tool. Because again, if this is the first time you used it, you will have to slide this and make it bigger. So zoom in, take your mouse and hover over the fillets. So it'll give you a reference, 373. We're probably really at 375, but you could do it here too. But zoom in. If you zoomed out too far, it doesn't seem to want to pick it up. 499. So again, we know that's a 373. You could do a print screen and save all of them. So go back to Inventor. And if you want to turn the mesh on or off, you can. I'm going to save my part. So then you'd use the normal Autodesk Inventor fillet tool. And you put in your amount. In this case, this is like, it said 373. Let's do 0.375. And you can select the area you want. And go put it in here. Pick that little radius down there. If you do it the wrong way, you can back out, cancel, or you should be able to do a chain. So again, it's the normal fillet tool you use every day. And I believe they have a chain as well. And you can go fillet everything. But again, it's the normal fillet tool in Inventor. So you could do all the rest of these the same way. So we appreciate your business and hope you enjoyed this video. And once you go through it, contact support at DezignWorks.com and schedule your training for DezignWorks for Inventor. Have a great day. Thanks.